episode of Can Mayonnaise Kill a Jedi podcast. I'm your co-host, Darth Celine.
And I am your main host, the Artificial Dragon. And, well, yes, as my co-host pointed out, this is our very first book club episode. The subject of this episode, which might be clear for a lot of people if you saw the title and the thumbnail, will be very apparent. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Yeah, as Hannah said before, this will be our very first book club episode. Expect some rockiness in this. We'll be kind of all over the place, but we're generally going to be looking at a Star Wars book, reading it, or more accurately in my case, listening to it and delivering our thoughts about it.
Exactly.
But yes, go ahead with the intros, Hannah.
First order of business, Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to, all right, okay. See, this is why you do this.
That is very fair because I have it in my noggin right here. But yes, patreon.com/canmail. Once again, that is patreon.com/canmail. And of course, the Discord is open for everybody. If you want to talk general Star Wars lore, share memes, or talk to me and Hannah, have a wonderful time. But if you want your benefits, like voting on the next episode topic, we will be doing that Ewok episode in like a couple of weeks from now. But yes, we will be doing the Ewok episode. Just a fair spoiler for everybody. But anyway, if you want exclusive voting rights on both, perhaps our main podcast,
topics.
Yeah, our main topics for the podcast or a future book episode. I'm not sure how frequently our book club episodes will be, but maybe once a month. I'm not too sure right now.
This was just a fun change of pace because we both have listened and quote unquote read this book, so this was my idea.
Yeah, it was purely Hannah's idea, which is why I wanted to let her take charge of this, I suppose, recording every once in a while. But anyway, so the lowest tier is $2 and the highest tier is $10. If you want exclusive voting rights, the highest tier is where you go. But you also have the option for the $5 tier, which is the smuggler's tier. And you have exclusive voting rights, whether you want to talk about your favorite character, your favorite faction, whatever. You have access to that. Don't expect the Mandalorians or Boba Fett, Jango Fett, any of those anytime soon, because they are already popular enough as it is.
Yep.
But yes, with that out of the way, look forward to the next Patreon. You already saw it, Hannah. It's wonderful, and I hope you guys love it as well.
And shout out to our top tier counselors.
Yeah, our top tier counselors, which I will pull up because I totally planned for this. But just give me a quick moment, Hannah. How about you shout out your blog, Hannah?
Shout out to Celine's Cantina. Send me asks, because I'm trying to get back into the groove of things, and I need more asks.
Yeah,
I've only got one in my inbox. So
yeah, it's always helpful for a writer of your caliber to get frequent asks in every once in a while.
Just flood my inbox with questions, please.
But anyway, for our top tier Patreons, we have Why Wolves, Cameron Lee, Dr. Emboss, Gobez, Tristan H, and Milo. Thank you everybody so much for supporting our Patreon and our series in general for the past 2 years.
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, and with that out of the way, let us go ahead and dive into our first book club episode. It's going to be a little bit all over the place, as I mentioned earlier, because we didn't really plan for this, but I think it's a nice change of pace compared to...
It is a nice change of pace.
Because we're both new to the book club reading episode. But anyway, Hannah, what is our topic for today?
We are going to be covering The Courtship of Princess Leia by Dave Wolverton.
Yeah. I could never imagine that The Courtship of Princess Leia would be our very first book club episode. But I've heard, like, back in the day when I was still getting used to Star Wars lore and everything, the Courtship of Princess Leia is always one of those, I wouldn't say bad books, but it has its own reputation.
Which we will talk about in a few minutes.
Yes, we will. A very infamous reputation, but in all honesty, after, listening through the book, it is actually a very quality book.
As I've said multiple times, I was recommended this book by our dearly departed friend Irk the Turtle, and I originally listened to the audiobook read by January Lavoie. So good.
Yeah.
So good. But I recently got a first edition copy at Bookman's, which is our local bookstore here, and shout out to them because they are fucking amazing.
Oh yeah, you also forgot to add that they currently have a vinyl signed by Mark Hamill himself.
Yes,
there.
they do.
Yes, they do. I'll have to put it up in the episode when I give a chance.
He even
yes.
shouted them out on Twitter.
Exactly. So if you ever wonder where we are, that's the general area we live. Well,
Hell
Hannah,
yeah.
more or less, but me, yay.
But yes, Courtship of Princess Leia.
But Courtship of Princess Leia, yeah, I believe, I'm just looking at my notes real quickly. It was released back in April of 1994.
6 years before I was even thought of.
That was 2 years before I was born, Hannah. I was barely a thought when this book came out.
Yeah.
That was like...
I wasn't even a thought.
That's like, I believe, 6 years before The Phantom Menace, too. Yeah. So, if you really think about it, The Courtship of Princess Leia was kind of ahead of its time because it was talking about all of that political shit before the actual prequels came out.
Oh, absolutely. And I believe this, in the, like, EU storyline, if you look at it from the books...
Yeah.
This takes place before the
Try again, Anna.
before the Thrawn trilogy.
That is very true.
Like right before. Like a few years before.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I'm just quickly looking at the audiobook I've been reading, and it is narrated by January Lavoie.
Yep, that's the same one I listened to.
Cool, so we're all on the same page. But anyway, synopsis of a story, Hannah.
Oh, just a quick warning about the audiobook.
Yeah.
There are two versions of it on Audible. There is one read by, I think, a male narrator. It is the abridged version.
Mm-hmm.
So it is not as long as the other one read by January Lavoie. The one read by January Lavoie is a lot better.
Yeah, it's like 12 hours and 34 minutes long, but it's a very quality book. As I said before, Hannah, I listened to this book through 2 of my work shifts, and it was a good way to pass the time.
I think I managed to break it up in about a week.
Yeah.
When I listened to it, it's just so good.
Yeah, especially with the sound effects every once in a while,
And the music.
and the classic music from Star Wars, but that's a given for any audiobook.
All right, shall we dive in head first?
Yes, you'll probably have a better memory than I do because I know the basic synopsis, the bare bones of it. If you are asking me to remember specific characters, I got nothing there. But
That, and I have my physical
yes,
copy
you do
right
have
here.
a physical book for reference, but the basic synopsis is Han Solo comes back from a recent campaign against Zinj, or as the narrator calls him, Zinja.
This is where I got my pronunciation of Zinja.
Yeah, and when you were talking about that, it really caught me off guard. I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but I always remember his name as Zinj, not Zinja. So when I heard that from you, it really caught me off guard.
But now you see why
I understand that completely. But as big of a role that Zinja plays out there, he's kind of a background character. So while we're talking about the audiobook, don't expect too much from Zinja.
little fat bastard.
He is indeed a fat bastard, but he is a formidable opponent, especially for Han Solo.
Yes, he is. But the book, blah, blah, blah. Fuck. The book first starts in a General Han Solo coming back to Coruscant from something I don't specifically remember.
Yeah, I don't remember specifically either, but he's like returning from a 4-year-long campaign or something.
Yeah. I think it had been like 5 months since he had seen Leia.
Yeah.
They did describe that in the book. But he's on a Mon Cala ship, and they're coming into Coruscant, and out of nowhere, as they come out of hyperspace, they see Hapen battle dragons.
Hapen battle dragons, the very first introduction of those kick-ass warships, by the way.
These huge fucking warships surrounding the space around Coruscant. And Han is immediately like, oh shit! Evasive maneuvers.
And then it's cleared away pretty quickly that they're supposed to be friendlies. And Han Solo's like, what the fuck? What's going on here? Because in his previous reputation as a smuggler, the Hapes Consortium doesn't usually connect to outsiders because he's a smuggler. He's had a couple run-ins with Hapes ships before, but not really being extended by the Hapes.
Yeah, he doesn't know the Hapes. He just knows how big their fucking ships are.
Yeah, and yeah, so long story short, Princess Leia reached out to the Hapes Consortium because she heard that they're also enemies of the Empire, needs to gather allies, the
Allies,
thing.
Resources, da-da-da-da.
Da-da-da-da. And it really kicks off the main plot point of the entire book, which comes into play when okay, so there's that entire scene where what was it? The location of the name of the location escapes me, but it's like the dignitaries'
I think
place.
it's like the Alderaanian Dignitary Hall or something.
Yeah, and everybody across the planet is just gathering around to see this gathering with the Hapes Consortium and all that. And Princess Leia, being the main delegate there, is approached by, what was it, I think 16 gifts from Hapes?
A lot of gifts. I'm actually going to quickly look at that.
Yeah, probably a good idea. Because they mentioned, like, there's a gift from this planet and some pearls from this planet, which I believe they mentioned is, like, worth millions of credits each, something like that.
Rainbow gems.
There we go, rainbow gems.
Rainbow gems from Galanor. And these rainbow gems are actual living creatures. They are silicon-based life forms.
Yep, and they are worth a lot each. I think they mentioned they could buy a super star destroyer with one of those.
One gem could buy a calamarian cruiser.
There we go, yep. And then, of course, the Gun of Command is another gift.
Yes, it's right here, Gun of Command.
And then, of course, Princess Leia, expecting all of his gifts, like, okay, what is it that you guys want in return? And then the final gift was from Hapes itself, and it's where we get the introduction of Prince Isolder, I believe.
Yes, I have it right here.
Yeah.
Leia leaned forward from her throne, looked over the gifts approvingly. You said you had gifts from all 63 of your worlds, Leia told the ambassador, but I see here gifts from only 62.
There we go.
You've offered me nothing from Hapes itself. And, surprise to no one, out comes Isolder.
Yep, and that begins the main conflict of the book, which is just,
Love triangle!
Yay! Classical love triangle. But, yeah, I think it's a very interesting dynamic. Especially when it's very obvious that everybody is expecting Princess Leia to be smitten, which she obviously is with Prince Isolder, but it's very clearly a political maneuver, because what was the name of that fat Alderaanian head of a delegation who wanted to get Princess Leia married to Isolder?
I mean, hang on, I'm looking.
Yeah.
But when they describe this dude, where is it? Threkin Horm.
Brigham Horn, there he is.
Threkin Horm. The president of the powerful Alderaanian Council, an immensely fat man who rested in a repulsor chair.
Yeah, that fat bastard, yeah.
All I think of is the people from WALL-E.
Yeah, I could see that too.
That is immediately what I pictured.
No, for some reason, I'm thinking of one of those characters from Dune, who's always floating around and he's an immensely fat bastard. I know you haven't watched any of the Dune movies, but there's one of the main...
I've seen clips.
Okay, but you know exactly who I'm talking about.
He's very fat.
He's very fat, but he's just floating around, not exactly in a hover chair, but he's floating around.
But yeah, but the immediate thought of me was the fat citizens from WALL-E.
That's also a good comparison, yeah. And
Threkin Horm is just an asshole.
Yeah, he's an absolute bastard throughout the entire book. I'm just imagining he has this shit-eating grin on his face. And I'm like, I want to wipe that off so bad.
Yeah, I think Han does too.
Pretty much, because if I also remember correctly, there's a particular scene where he's, what was it? It was Princess Leia's personal Star Destroyer. I forgot what it's called, but I think it's like Rebel's Hope or something.
The Rebel Dream.
There we go, the Rebel's Dream. And Han Solo, it specifies a very nice little connection I see with Han Solo and Anakin Skywalker, ironically enough, is because both of them like working on their own ships to focus on other things or distract themselves.
Yeah.
And Horn does a little tour of the Rebel Dream with Isolder, and they go to the Millennium Falcon, and they have his little discussion. And Horn's like, Isolder, how dare you, Han? How dare you talk back to our guests like that?
But we just briefly covered chapter 1, and then chapter 2, it completely switches perspective over to Luke.
Yeah, it does. Where he's on, I wrote the name of the planet. It is Tola.
Tula.
Tula.
Toola.
Yeah, Tula, which is the home world of the, what was it? The Whippids race, who are those giant Whippids, yeah. Who are the giant shaggy looking dudes. I'll have to show you a picture of what
I've never seen what these guys look like.
Yeah. They're kind of like Wookiees, but they have like a huge underbite, so to speak.
Okay.
But
Excuse me.
excuse you. But I think it was a nice, I'm not sure if it appeared in this book for the first time, but I wouldn't be surprised if they appeared in this book for the first time. But yeah, Luke is out there being guided around, and they briefly encountered a predatory creature, which is like a, what was it? A ice something? I think it says so in the book, but yeah, we're kind of all over the place.
Snow demons.
There we go, snow demons. There we go. This is what they naturally look like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But of course, that's kind of on a side tangent, but mostly Luke is there to find ancient Jedi relics, whatever he can find. And he eventually, I believe, finds this temple or something. And he finds an old recording, which Yoda is in. And he's much younger than what Luke remembers of him. Much more full of life compared to the little gremlin from Dagobah.
Yep.
But they mentioned the world of Dathomir for the very first time there.
Yes, they met. The Yoda is specifically talking about the Ch'un-Thor.
The Ch'un-Thor.
From Dathomir.
Yeah, they don't specifically know. Well, okay, Luke doesn't have a full context, obviously, so he doesn't know what.
The recording's ancient, and it's, old, starting to fade, scratchy.
And of course, it talks about the witches of the witches, not specifically the witches of Dathomir, but just the witches. And that's pretty much all the context that Luke has. If any couple of developments go on in Coruscant, I believe Han Solo is kind of super jealous with Iceholder. And Iceholder kind of proclaims, I'm going to win over Princess Leia's heart, Han. And Han Solo is obviously really jealous because what could he really bring to the table in comparison?
Isolder is a prince of 63 planets.
Yeah.
And his wife becomes the next queen mother, so. And then Han's just,
He's
scoundrel.
just a smuggler. But I could see where Han's frustration comes from throughout his entire book, because hey, if this is the woman I love, I may not offer much, but obviously she loves me, and then boom, this motherfucking prince comes out of fucking nowhere. And obviously it's more for political gain than anything else, but it seems, I don't know, it seems like it's very obvious that Princess Leia is being forced into this by Mr. Fat Ass over there, but at the same time, she's obviously very smitten by this very handsome, very wealthy guy.
She is, but I remember, I think it's later on in the book, maybe when they're having dinner on the Rebel Dream.
Yeah.
Isolder explains that he was the one who offered marriage to Leia.
Yeah, because she was visiting the Hapes Consortium for the first time. But I also find some interesting implications that Iceholder wanted a queen mother that isn't as ruthless as his mother and saw Princess Leia as an ideal candidate.
Ta'achum is fucking insane.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a bit, but
Yeah.
Ta'achum is nuts.
Yeah, she absolutely is. But yeah, we're kind of fast forwarding it a little bit. But I think it's also kind of interesting that because Iceholder and Han Solo kind of have a little bit of a rapport for each other, because Iceholder in his youth got abducted by pirates when his brother died by one of a pirate's hands, and he was adrift with a pirate's
Quote unquote.
quote unquote. But we'll get to that in a little bit.
There's a lot of political intrigue in this. In this book.
I was honestly quite surprised that this predated the prequel trilogy, because I honestly think that George Lucas may have had some inspiration from his book when making the prequels.
Well, yeah, I mean, when they made Maul and, started working on his backstory, Dave Wolverton found out that they used Dathomir as his, homeworld, and he was thrilled.
That is true, yeah, because I remember one of the old concept arts for the antagonist for Phantom Menace was, I believe, a witch from Dathomir.
Still, that's so fucking cool.
It is pretty cool. Yeah, the parallels that we're seeing here. But they have a little bit of rapport, and then, that declaration of war to get Princess Leia on their side. And then Han decided to go all out, go to a gambling ring, plays a game of Sabacc against several players. But there was a particular player. You might have to remind me of who, because it's a reptilian race that has like a rebreather over their head.
She breathes methane.
Yeah.
I just cannot remember. Chapter 4 covers the dinner.
But yeah, basically Han Solo decides to dive into gambling because, he wants to get
There we go, I found it.
There we go.
Almog.
Alma.
Almog.
Almog.
Omogg. She's a Drakmarian warlord.
There we go, a Drakmarian warlord, and she happens to have ownership of a certain planet, which is Dathomir. But little does Han realize until after he won the earnings and gave it to Princess Leia that it's actually in Zinja's territory. Womp womp womp.
But he still doesn't give a shit. He's like, fuck Zinja. I'm gonna take you there, and this is my gift to you for our honeymoon.
Yeah, pretty much. He has the I forget what it's called when you have
He has the deed.
There we go, the deed. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, he has the obvious deed, but it's obviously in Zinja's territory, but who gives a fuck about that for Han Solo? I also do like that particular scene where Han Solo is at a bar drunk and C-3PO's with him, and they're just having this conversation like, hey C-3PO, what kind of qualities do you think I have for Princess Leia? And C-3PO, being the blunt droid that he is, like, well, you don't exactly have the same wealth as him. You're not as handsome. But I do think that you do have the qualities that Leia wants. And he was like, hey, could you make a song or something about me? And I forget exactly what it was, but it showed off C-3PO's good qualities in this case.
Yes, it did. That would be later in the book.
Yes.
But right before that conversation happens, Leia and Isolder are kind of out on a date, I think, looking at the gardens of Coruscant or something.
No, I think of specifically, because I remember that scene specifically. There was like a certain flower native to Alderaan. And she specifically says that if a maiden finds a flower in the garden, that's a good sign that they're going to have a child later. But usually it was planted by the relatives like the night before, because if they're caught in the act, that's usually bad luck.
Yes, but then assassination attempt happens.
Yay!
And we're actually introduced to Captain Astarda, who is Isolder's
bodyguard. Also, kind of going back to that bar scene, I remember one of the guys, actually one of the women was all like, oh, I would kill just to be Iceholder's bodyguard.
I would too.
It's kind of funny because it just twists the knife into Han Solo more than it needs to, because it's
Yes, it
basically
does.
Isolder is like the talk of the entire world at that point. Like, oh, my sister wants a poster of Isolder on her wall. It's like, god damn, dude. Just cut his throat out and put him out of his misery at that point.
Yes. Someone said, second woman, well, you can guard that body all you want. I'd rather be his masseuse. Can you imagine eating that hot flesh all day long? Which is like, same, girl.
It's like, Jesus, it sounds, I don't know, I wouldn't call it a fanfic, but Jesus. Iceholder just showed up and he's the talk of the entire planet. Jesus Christ. But no, I get it. And it also, I think it also talks about what does Leia see in Han Solo, because they were kind of gossiping about him and then about Iceholder. But Jesus Christ, dude. I feel bad for Han Solo throughout the entire book.
Oh, this is also the chapter when 3PO brings up, there it is.
Jumbling through your words, so now you know how I feel.
Yeah, this is when, like, they're starting to say that, Han should marry Leia, and they're starting to plan the wedding.
Yep.
Horn's like, oh, he's not even royalty. 3PO's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh, yes, he is. He's Corellian royalty.
Yeah, that
Spoiler
entire
alert, no, he isn't.
I like that entire press conference scene where Han Solo is just kind of a background in his seat, and then the announcement is made that he's royalty, and he's clearly very uncomfortable.
He's just trying to disappear into his chair like, no.
No! I also like the implication that even droid reporters are cheering for C-3PO, talking to the entire crowd.
Yeah,
But
that is pretty cool.
I do like that. That I also liked how Horn was all like, well, sure, he's royalty, but his ancestor was a criminal, was he not? And then C-3PO turned it around on him, and he's like, isn't your mother also one of the descendants of said criminal? He's like, cut it off! Cut it off!
All right, moving on to...
Oh, boy. I also remember where Luke Skywalker got contacted by Princess Leia because I think she wanted to talk to him in person and all that. And there's this whole political debate where I believe the Verpines and the Barbells are in some very hot water with each other. And initially, Leia was the one who was supposed to do the negotiation talks between them. But Mon Mothma is like, no, I'm going to take that over for you. And Princess Leia is like, why? Well, you're obviously going to be married off to Iceholder, so I better take up your position. It's like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, this is right on this page. Leia said, General Solo, I hear you'll be taking a fleet to the Roche system tonight.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
it's
that's
very...
the first ever mention of the Roche system.
Yeah, I think that is too. And like, like I said, Horn is a bastard. He's obviously trying to get Han Solo out of the picture. But yeah, it's very clear that Horn just wants to push the political marriage between Leia and Iceholder. Like, I want to punch that motherfucker in the face so bad.
Yes, it did. Oh, this is also the chapter. This is chapter 7.
Yeah.
Where we're talking about now. This is also when Han and Leia start to argue about Isolder and, everything. And this is also when... This is my only criticism of this book, because I love this book.
Yeah.
He pulls out the fucking gun of command and shoots her with it.
Just mind controls her to
Yes.
come to the Millennium Falcon. By the way, neither motherfucking Chewie nor C-3PO knew about this, by the way.
Until she woke up.
Yeah. She's all like, let me out! And I think it specifically described that Chewie wanted to beat the shit out of motherfucking Han
Yes,
after
he did.
this.
But it's like, that is so not Han Solo. And even like listening to it for the first time, it's like, what the fuck? He loves Leia. Why would he do that to her?
I mean, like, going into this, I could understand, knowing Han as a character, I knew he probably wouldn't have done that in other circumstances, but considering the context of what has happened, all of the negativity that has happened, like, oh, Iceholder is better than you, and all of his political maneuvering, I kind of see where he's coming from, because obviously Princess Leia is head over heels for Iceholder for, well, okay, obviously she was pressured into it and also was willingly going into this marriage, but
it was iffy.
Yeah, it was kind of iffy. Neither of them were in their heads weren't in the right place at that time. That's how I look at it, at least. But I can understand where Han is coming from. Probably shouldn't have done the whole
kidnapping,
the whole kidnapping thing, but I understand where he's coming from.
And then right after Isolder tells Ta'achum, I will hunt down General Solo and I will bring home my bride.
And I think Ta'achum was all like, no, I'll do it myself, because you're a man. You probably won't be able to track him down that easily. And he was all like, oh crap, my mom's coming in. Oh shit.
Yes, and bringing the entire fucking Hapen fleet.
Along with Star One, was it? No, it was
Starhome.
Starhome, there we go.
Yeah, she's flying in on Starhome.
The more fucking royal palace of the entire Hapes Consortium.
In space. Yeah.
And then, of course, Luke Skywalker comes back, finds the warlord that has the world, because I think Leia might have passingly mentioned that Han Solo won the game, but Luke Skywalker comes across the lizard person who was being interrogated by a bunch of Hapen guards, and she tells him the location of Dathomir in his mind, I believe.
I actually think Ta'achum has her soldiers beat. No. Hang on. The warlord's getting beat up.
Yeah.
Ta'achum and Luke arrive there at the same time, get the lizards off her, and apparently in the fight they had disconnected her methane.
Yep.
So she's suffocating.
Yep, she was suffocating, and I believe I remember the specific detail of Ta'achum was all like, I'm so very sorry, I didn't mean for my bodyguards to rough you up like that, I will kill them immediately. And the warlord was like, good, have them breathe in methane.
Have them breathe methane. That was so badass.
That was pretty badass. I wish I could have gotten more from that character, because she sounds pretty cool. Oh yeah, kind of going over the place with his book, but that's okay. I also remember where Luke Skywalker went to that bar trying to do some detective work, and the bartender's like, I may have known something, but I'm not too sure. And then Luke Skywalker hands her a bunch of credits, like, how about now? Did this jog your memory? He's like, oh yeah, I remember now. If all else fails, just give him credits.
Then cut to up in the Falcon, where Han is basically playing loving house husband to Leia, making her dinner and everything.
And it's very obvious that Leia's just making his life miserable at that point.
On purpose.
Yeah, very obviously she has every right to, but then they have another argument, and I believe, like, okay, how about this, princess? Give me 5 days, and if you fall in love with me within those 5 days, we could get married. But if you don't, you could go back to Isolder, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And then, right as they get into, I think, words, at least, like, within distance of Dathomir,
yeah,
they get shot down.
Yeah, shot down, but I think, so, that entire scene, and I didn't really think about it before, because they camouflaged the Millennium Falcon with his giant camouflage cover or whatever.
That's after it crashes.
Yeah, after it crashes, but that did provide a really good point, because it offers details that you normally don't see in the movies. Like,
yeah, it's like, how would they hide a ship that big? Oh, they have camouflage cover to, like, basically a big old camouflage tarp.
Yeah, pretty much, and it's those details that makes me appreciate the novels more, because it gives us those nice little lore details. And then let's see. Oh yeah, and then that entire dinner scene with Luke Skywalker and Ta'achum.
Yep, that's in chapter 9.
And she's like obviously trying to do her best to seduce Luke Skywalker, and Luke Skywalker's like having none of it.
You're Here we go, chapter 9. I am terribly sorry, the Queen Mother said to the Drakmarian. I am Ta'achum of Hapes, and I asked my men to find you. I did not order them to question you like this. They are already under arrest. Name whatever punishment you think just. Make them breathe methane.
Yeah, I love that character so much.
Almog.
Wish we could have gotten more of her. There's a lot of characters I wish we got more of, but, you know. Then let me see, that dinner scene with the Queen Mother.
It kind of just switches. Every other chapter, it switches from Han and Leia to Luke, and then back and forth.
Yeah.
Because chapter 10 just immediately starts with the Millennium Falcon plunging toward Dathomir.
Yeah, pretty much. Also, it's more of a nitpick than anything else. I do like that pretty much Dathomir, just so coincidentally, is the planet that Han Solo got. And then coincidentally, it was the very same place that Luke Skywalker wants to go to find the
Ch'Unthor.
The Ch'Unthor. It was very coincidental. But then I remember, like, oh yeah, a lot of things in Star Wars is very coincidental because the Force wills it and all that shit.
Yes, the will of the Force.
The will of the Force. So I could let that go for a little bit. But we'll talk about the other flaws in the book at the very end of this discussion. But anyway, that entire dinner scene with Luke Skywalker and the Queen Mother was kind of interesting because Luke Skywalker, I like to imagine he's the typical anime protagonist where he's very very oblivious towards advances from the Queen Mother. And he very casually was all like, I wonder how you look under that veil, because she's covered by a veil.
Yeah, she wears a veil over her face.
Yeah. And then Isolder just shivers by that very casual suggestion.
Yeah.
Let me see what else.
Yeah, to Isolder's surprise, his mother pulled up her veil. For one eternal moment, the Jedi gazed into her startlingly dark green eyes, the cascades of red hair, and held his breath. In all of Hapes, few women could vie with the Ta'achum for beauty. Isolder wondered if perhaps Skywalker had noticed his mother's discreet advances after all. Then Ta'achum dropped her veil.
Yeah, I do like how much of a Chad Luke Skywalker is throughout his entire book.
Yeah, and then he just says, I see why you're so beautiful, and why your people like you, and left.
Pretty much. Motherfucking Giga Chad Skywalker over here.
Yep.
Yeah, this is like many years before he fell in love with Mara Jade, so yeah, good on you, Luke Skywalker.
Yes.
And then afterwards, he convened with Iceholder that he knew, because Ta'achum was talking about a Jedi Academy that was in the Hapes Consortium, I believe, but obviously Luke Skywalker kind of saw through her lies and all that, because she absolutely hates the Jedi.
And it's not only her, but apparently Isolder mentions her own mother hated the Jedi.
Yeah.
We mentioned in the Hapes episode, the Hapes did not like the Jedi.
No, they did not. And then Luke Skywalker left in his X-Wing, and I think Iceholder goes after him with his own fleet, and they make their way to Dathomir.
Yep. Follows in his own ship. Mentions the name, but I cannot remember it right now. Chapter 11.
Yay. Yeah, we're just kind of jumping all over the place, but it's like that for a reason.
We're staying kind of linear.
Yeah, we're staying a little bit linear. And then, going back to when Han Solo and the crew of the Millennium Falcon are covering it up, there's this particular scene where Han Solo goes to scout out the surface of Dathomir, and then it ends with him looking at this lake, and then Leia's like, where have you been? Why didn't you tell me that you're going to be out for so long? And Han Solo's like, relax, there's not going to be any stormtroopers out here. And she's all like, how do you know that? If there are stormtroopers, there's something big out here that's going to scare them off, which is obviously the very first hints of the native wildlife of Dathomir, which we'll get into for a little bit.
Well, that and they come across a walker.
Yeah.
An Imperial walker.
Yay, an Imperial walker. Had a nice little encounter with that. And then eventually, they got captured by the first glimpses of the witches of Dathomir.
Almost.
Yeah, we're almost there.
Almost. Chapter 12 is when Isolder's battle dragon, the Song of War,
Such a kick-ass name.
prepared to jump out of hyperspace. That is such a badass name.
Then Luke Skywalker and Isolder had their little dogfights with the TIE fighters and everything. And
Yeah, they showed up right as the Falcon is plunging towards Dathomir.
it's a really interesting scene because Isolder, from his perspective, he thought that Luke Skywalker got killed. But
He thought that Leia was dead.
well, he thought Leia was dead, but then because I think I remember specifically, it's kind of vivid in my head, but he was all like, oh my god, Luke Skywalker is dead, because he crash landed. And then a little while later, he looked up and he saw Luke just levitating down to the ground.
But that was after the crash.
Yeah.
Storm is Isolder's ship,
Yeah.
his own fighter.
And I think that is relatively intact from the crash. So yeah, it's also kind of a interesting interesting dynamic between him and Luke Skywalker, because Luke Skywalker kind of indulged Isolder on the Force and all that sort of thing.
That's another part that I didn't like about that. It's like he's trying to be the preachy Jedi when, like, Isolder doesn't really have knowledge of the Force and he's not Force sensitive. But then Tenennial starts, like, kind of listening and seeing the way of the Jedi. And it's like, you're a witch. You have your own way of doing things.
That is fair, but I just think it's especially when this is prequel trilogy Star Wars, I think it's an interesting dynamic.
It is.
And like, we'll eventually get into this, but a lot of descriptions from Luke's perspective on the Force are trippy as hell.
Yes, they are.
But yeah, Isolder, Luke Skywalker have a little bit of a mentor / apprentice relationship going on here, and then they, go on with exploring the surface of Dathomir. And I believe they encounter the ship that Luke Skywalker had heard about from Yoda.
Oh, there's a chapter before this.
Yeah.
Where Luke, Leia, Han, Leia, and Chewie are getting escorted to the Imperial base by the Walker.
Yep.
And Zinja's men. But
they get ambushed by the witches, yes.
Yes.
By a bunch of Rancors, too.
Yes. And the way that they describe this first witch is just amazing. I'm going to read it.
Go for it.
In less than 10 seconds, the blasters of the Imperial walkers were all silenced. The machines lay in smoldering ruins at their feet. Leia looked up at the 3 giant Rancors, each more than 10 meters in height. On the creature's necks sat human riders. One of the riders bent low, her dark hair shimmering in the light of the burning walkers. She wore a high-collared tunic of glittering red scales, and over it a supple robe made of leather or heavy material. On her head she wore a helm of fan-like wings. Each wing was decorated with ornaments that bobbled as she moved. She held a very ancient force pike, its vibroblade rattling and in need of adjustment, the handle carved and decorated with white stones.
Nice.
Beautiful!
Nice little description in our first introduction to the witches of Dathomir.
Absolutely.
Specifically, the Singing Mountain clan.
Yes, these are the witches of the Singing Mountain clan.
Yeah. And then Han Solo and
this is when you get your first real taste of how the witches work.
Yeah, this character.
No, hang on. The woman with the force pike leaned over Leia, pointed at Han and 3PO. Keep your slaves marching, Off-Worlder. We will take you to the sisters for judgment.
Yeah. Yep.
That simple sentence shows the complete culture shock that you get from being an off-worlder on Dathomir. It's like,
shit,
we have these aren't just normal men, these are slaves here.
Yeah, there's plenty of culture shocks around here.
And now we're at back to Isolder and Luke.
Yeah, where they encounter the I keep on forgetting the name of the ship, but
The Chunthor.
the Chunthor.
Half sunken in a lake.
Half sunken into the lake, and Luke Skywalker. I think he makes his way inside with a lightsaber, and then he gets ambushed by this next character we'll talk about, which I do not know how to remember how to pronounce anyway, but I know her last name is Jo.
I will in just 1 second.
Do for it, Hannah.
Oh, they do mention the Blue Desert people here.
Yeah.
But,
Oh yeah, the Qui.
not the Kui.
The Qua.
No, neither. They're quote-unquote lizards, or like giant blue lizards. But, in the Dathomir campaign that Eric and I did, it was... He reworked it into the Blue Desert City run by, or led by, Kaisina, who is Maul's quote-unquote mother.
Gotcha.
Or father turned mother.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, yeah, I do also like that interesting dynamic where Luke Skywalker is communing with the beast, and Iceholder's like, why don't you just force it to take us to our destination? And Luke Skywalker,
Like, that's not how the Force works.
Yeah, that's not how the Force works. It's a very nice contrast between the dynamics. Like, Luke Skywalker is all about harmony and all that, and Iceholder is obviously a well-off noble prince, so he obviously wants to do everything by force.
Here's where Tenennial shows up.
Yeah.
I am Tenennial Jo, a daughter of Alia, and you are my slave.
Yeah, the introduction to the very first waifu of this book.
She is such a badass character.
Yeah, she is. And I also, we'll eventually get into it, but I like how Iceholder kind of describes her as not quite as beautiful as any of the Hapes women, but she has a very athletic build in comparison to them.
Well, yeah, she's a witch, and she has to survive out in the wilds of Dathomir.
Oh yeah, I gotta show you this picture of her, because...
Tenennial was just such a good character.
Yeah, she is a badass character. And it was very obvious that she was smitten with Skywalker the entire book.
Yes, she was.
I remember seeing the comments about the book where it's all like, damn it, Luke Skywalker, why didn't you fall for her, damn it? Oh, well.
I mean, before I found out about Mara,
Yeah.
I wanted Luke and Tenennial to end up together. Because they worked so well. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Queen! And
Queen!
Like another redhead. Luke has a thing for redheads.
Yes, he does, but unfortunately he doesn't get this redhead. But we're kind of jumping ahead a little bit. But yeah, she takes both Luke Skywalker and Iceholder as her slaves. Because the context is that she's been exiled by her tribe for reasons.
And she's a member of the Singing Mountain Clan.
Yes, she is. And she described Luke Skywalker as a male witch, which is prized by a lot of the female witches of Dathomir.
Yes.
And then she's like, haha, I caught you fair and square. And Luke Skywalker obviously got out of his binds very easily. She's like, what the hell are you?
And then, there's a point in, I think, the next chapter where you just kind of get introduced more to what, like, the normal day-to-day kind of livings of the Singing Mountain Clan.
Yeah.
You get introduced to a woofa.
Woofa worms, yeah.
It's like this giant worm that Han had to, like, pull out of the ground.
Yeah, he described the Woofa worm in a couple of episodes where they were created by the Qua as protectors for their temples and everything.
Yeah, and right here they mentioned the Pacian Empire.
I do remember that in the Hapen episode.
Yep.
But yeah, But yeah, it's a very interesting scene where Han Solo is trying to figure out what the fuck do they want me to do, because they put him in this field with a bunch of other slaves, and they're like, woofa, woofa, like,
Yeah, they're all just chanting woofa.
woofa, and he's all like trying to pull this motherfucking thing out of the ground as much as he can, because I think they described it as like 120 meter long worm or something like that.
Let's see.
Because it's a long ass worm. But yeah, it was a very fun description of very first impressions of the
It was just a way of them to kind of meld into the day-to-day life of the Singing Mountain clan.
Yeah, and I think I also remember for
Han's reaction was like, great, I caught a rope.
there we go.
Because they use wolfahide for everything.
Yeah, they put it on the saddles for the rancors. I think they use it as like tunics or something like that. But he also pointed out that since these things seem to be so durable and versatile, he was wondering, I wonder how much this would be worth in the black market or something like that. I remember. But no, it was very interesting. And then the lead up to the meeting between the leader of the Singing Mountain clan and the Night Sisters was intense.
Yes, it was. I mean, the way they describe the Night Sisters.
Yeah, especially in the audio drama, because unlike the other characters, they actually bring that demonic voice to the Night Sisters.
Yes, they do.
Like they did with Mother Taliesin.
Here it is. A group of strangers came up from the outside the valley. 9 women, humanoid, with strangely blotched purplish skin.
Yep.
They did not wear exotic helms like the warriors, but instead only wore dark, shaggy, hooded robes crudely woven from some plant fiber and covered with trail dust. He wondered nervously if these women had been called to be his judges, but no, these are Night Sisters.
Yeah. Very first introduction to the Night Sisters, and
Yeah,
they are
they
horrifying.
immediately tried to hypnotize Han into telling him where the Millennium Falcon is.
Yeah, I think I also remember. The name of most of these characters are loose on me, but one of the Night Sisters was a representative, and one of her, I think, nieces were part of the Singing Mountain clan. I can't remember because
We'll get to that.
yeah, because I remember like she was all like, "Ooh, that's a nice slave. How about I take him?" And the witch that was escorting Han was like, "No, Demaya, thank you." Was like, "No, you can't touch him." Let me see, and then that entire scene where they're negotiating, and Han Solo's like, I own Dathomir, because he like shows the deed and everything.
Yeah, and Baratha, that's her name.
There we go.
A man claims to own Dathomir.
A man.
Like, how dare?
And then, of course, we get our very first hints of a leader of the Night Sisters, who is Gevzerian.
Yes, Gevzerian, and we also get introduced to Ogwyn.
Yay. Yeah, I gotta say,
Ogwyn Joe.
Alan Jajal, the leader of the Singing Mountain clan. I gotta say, we'll eventually get to more of her later, but Gevzerian, she is actually a very interesting antagonist.
Yes, she is, and the way Eric portrayed her in Child of Dathomir was great.
Yeah. Wish I could have learned how he depicted her, but I'll probably get that from you later. But Gevzerian, she has this presence that is very foreboding. Like, I didn't think much of Gevzerian before this book, but learning about her and hearing her voice and how terrifying she is, I wish we could have gotten more of Gevzerian.
Gevzerian is such a good antagonist.
And the mere fact that Palpatine was apparently scared of Gevzerian says a lot about her.
Yes, especially, Night Sister. Papa Palpy was scared of the Night Sisters.
Yeah, he was like, no.
Yeah,
Quarantine that entire world, bitch.
Yeah, that is exactly why they want a ship. They want to get the fuck off that planet to go cause chaos in the rest of the galaxy.
Hence why they wanted to find the Millennium Falcon from Han Solo.
Yes.
But yeah, switch over to
Tenennial Luke and Isolder.
they had a brief conversation with a bunch of Night Sisters and how easy Luke was able to dispatch one Night Sister, I think I also remember this nice little moment where Tenennial and Luke were running, and she noted how Luke Skywalker wasn't dripping a sweat, and she was kind of impressed, like, how do you do this? And he's like, oh, the Force.
Yeah.
Because it's also an interesting dynamic, because with the Witches of Dathomir, they are your classical magic users, where they use a lot of incantations and schematics, like you normally see with magic.
They sing their spells.
Yeah, they sing their spells with a lot of hand gestures.
Yeah, just like how any magic caster would.
Yeah, pretty much. And then after the fight, she was heavily wounded, and Luke Skywalker started healing her. And she was like, how are you doing this? The best of our clan that could barely come up with healing spells, but Luke Skywalker was just doing it on a whim.
And the way he kills this specific Night Sister, whose name is Oshiron, who is an amazing character in Child of Dathomir, by the way, cuts off her fucking head. Just decapitation.
That seems to be a favored killing method for members of a Skywalker family.
Yes. There was a flash of blue and the smell of ozone as Luke pulled his lightsaber, switched it on, and lunged. Oshiron's eyes widened in surprise at his attack, and she tried to turn her attention to him too late. The lightsaber struck off her head, purple flames erupted from her neck like water thundering down a mountain stream. And Luke covered his face, trying to shield himself from the touch of dark power he'd unleashed. Goddamn,
Fatality.
That's a fucking fatality.
Oh, Luke Skywalker and bringing forward his father a little bit there.
Oh, yeah. And then as Tenennial is injured, because she got, like, the brunt of the lightning.
Oh, yeah, she got fucked up.
She's having flashbacks of when she was a girl and when her mom died.
Yeah, I remember that too.
So they show us the funerary rites of, briefly, the Singing Mountain Clan, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, just a lot of world building for this book of Dathomir.
It's world building. I love it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've grown to appreciate about the Courtship of Princess Leia is not only the introduction of the Night Sisters and Dathomir itself, but also the world building.
The world building is great. The political intrigue is great. It's just, again, good book.
It is a very good book. But then this is where the relationship between Tenennial and Luke Skywalker kind of goes forward.
Yeah, because they're talking about all this stuff, and she's... Oh, this is with Luke saying Alia was a rogue Jedi.
Yeah.
They didn't want to... The Old Republic did not want to execute her, so the Jedi exiled her, and used her spells to tame wild rancors and hunt food. She taught her daughters all of her lore. I taught them to hunt for their mates, even as I hunted for you. So, the daughters of Alia were the first witches.
Yes.
And technically, Alia was, the first
The
witch
very
of Dathomir.
first witch, yes. Then afterwards, I think, like, they housed Tenennial in a cave that had a lot of, a lot of skeletons in it already. And she even pointed out earlier, like, they were like, well, what if the Night Sisters come in and kill us? And they're like, even the Night Sisters went and crossed into territories of the dead and all that. Mm-hmm. Which
is ironic, considering canon.
Yeah, since they're good old necromancers and all that stuff.
Yeah, as we've seen, they put their dead in pods and use them as zombie warriors.
Yeah, good old necromancy.
Pretty fucking badass.
Pretty badass, yeah.
But, also in this chapter, before chapter 16, Isolder asked, how did these Night Sisters, get to work with the stormtroopers?
Ah, yeah.
8 seasons ago, a leader from the stars sent stormtroopers to build a new prison. An outcast from our clans, a night sister named Gethzerion, took employment from the stormtroopers, helping to catch runaway slaves. At first, the Imperials liked her, promised to train her as a warrior and give her glory. But when they began to see her power, they feared her and decided to strand her on Dathomir. The Imperials blew up the ships at the prison, stranding their own soldiers in the process. It is rumored that Gethzerion killed the leaders at the prison, and the stormtroopers are so terrified of her that they obey her every whim.
Yeah.
She has promised them freedom if they will help her escape to the stars. For now that she has seen how weak the Imperials are and how much they fear her, she believes that she will someday rule worlds without end. But for now, Gethzerion contents herself by making war with the clans, killing some of her sisters, enslaving others. Many of the clan sisters have joined her.
Yeah.
So the Night Sisters are not really a clan themselves in
They're more like
Legends.
outcasts, yeah.
They're outcasts from other clans made into another clan.
Which is kind of interesting when, okay, so we know the lore of the Witches of Dathomir, of the Night Sisters. Look at the Book of Shadows, which is a offshoot of the Book of Law.
Yes.
Which makes sense, but in this particular book, it just kind of makes it look like the Night Sisters were a recent thing of Dathomir.
Yeah, technically, yes.
But we all know in Legends that they've always been there.
Yes.
But, it's the first introduction, so they're kind of building upon the lore more often.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first, world-building thing for Dathomir. It's gonna have inconsistencies
Yeah,
with
that
canon
is very fair.
and later
a lot
Legends.
of retcons, extensions, the usual stuff. But still, really good introduction for Gethzerion and how intimidating of a villain she is.
Not only intimidating, but how just fucking scary she is.
Yeah, she is very scary. And then let me see. And then
I mean, there's a whole storm going on, and Han seasons I think it was.
Oh yeah, he
Ogwyn.
sees Gethzerion's face. I believe, right?
That's later on.
Okay.
But with this, it's he sees the lightning and the storm, and Ogwyn's like, "Oh, that's Gethzerion's work," and Han's like, "What?"
No, I remember this particular scene where Han Solo was sleeping, and then he hears someone beckoning to him. He wakes up and he sees it's Leia, kind of beckoning him outside. And I think it was one of the sisters that rescued him, and she's just shooting her blaster at a bunch of Night Sisters that were crawling up the face of this cliff like they're fucking spiders. It's terrifying.
Yeah, they are. I think that's not long after this, but they're about to go to bed,
Yep.
and 3PO asks Leia, "Would you like some relaxing music to help you sleep?"
Yeah. 3PO coming in clutch.
I'm not going to sing this.
That's fair.
This is 3PO titled it "The Virtues of King Han Solo."
Yeah. 3PO coming in clutch.
He's got his own planet, although it's kind of wild. Wookiees love him, women love him. He's got a winning smile. Though he may seem cool and cocky, he's more sensitive than he seems. Chorus sung in accompaniment with 3 women who all sound like Leia. Han Solo, what a man. Solo, he's every princess's dream. And that's only 1 out of 15 verses.
And then Han Solo's like, that's actually not bad. Can I hear the rest? And Leia's like, no.
Leia's like, shut up, I'm going to bed.
If that song actually sticks with Leia for a good while.
It does. It just plays in the back of her head.
So yeah, see 3PO coming in clutch, being the shipper that he is.
the wingman.
The wingman. Yeah, it makes me appreciate C-3PO a lot more.
After that, we've got Singing Mountain Clan sisters talking amongst themselves.
Yeah, because Han Solo did offer the deed to the Singing Mountain Clan, and they'll give him whatever wealth that they have.
Yeah. This is when he wakes up to find
Yeah.
fake Leia trying to kill him.
Oh, good old Night Sister shenanigans.
And back to the other group.
Yeah, just a bunch of jumping back and forth, and then
It's a lot of jumping
yeah,
back and forth.
it is. It
but
is.
You gotta spread out the book somehow.
Pretty much. Let me see. Any interesting developments? Oh yeah. Eventually they make it to the Singing Mountain clan, and there's this entire scene where Tuana is proclaiming Iceholder as Tenennial is proclaiming Iceholder as her servant, and Leia's like, no, he's mine. And they have his entire thing.
Here's a point where I don't think anyone really noticed.
Yeah.
Welcome, Tenennial, my daughter's daughter, the old woman said.
Yeah.
It has been months since you last visited us. Did you find what you seek? Yes, grandmother, Tenennial said. Still holding Isolder's wrists, he dropped to one knee. I hunted near the old wreck at the throat of the desert, guided by a vision. Until I almost despaired, but I captured this man from the stars, and I claim him as my husband. She raised Isolder's wrists in the air. His name is Isolder from the planet Hapes.
Yeah.
So, Tenennial is Ogwyn's granddaughter.
Yeah. But oh.
Yeah, Leia's like, no, that he's mine.
Or fucking, what was it? Love triangle? It turned into a love rectangle now.
Yeah. And Ogwyn's like, do you know this man? Is he your slave? And like, Leia's like, no, he's a friend.
He's a friend.
we don't have slaves where I come from. And she is like, there's a point where Ogwyn's like, okay, Isolder once saved my... Leia began to argue. Then, tense as Ogwyn gave her a hard look. What? Ogwyn asked.
Yeah.
You would plead for his freedom on the same ground that you did for Han Solo. It's like,
yeah.
Bitch, how many men are you gonna plead for that we cannot take as slaves?
Make up your mind, Leia.
And even with... Ogwyn glanced at Luke. What of this one? She asked Tenennial. He's not bad looking. Will you also take him as a slave? As one, both Tenennial and Leia said, he saved my life.
How many slaves have saved your life, bitch?
This is Ogwyn. Tell me, Sister Leia, are people always trying to kill you?
Yeah. Yeah, everybody's trying to kill me. God damn, Leia. But...
Ogwyn says Isolder can have custody of, or Tenennial can have custody of Isolder as her husband.
Yeah, just this entire marital affair going on here. Meanwhile,
not even marital, that's just slavery.
Oh boy, but
and Leia's like, can I buy him? And she's like, no.
No, he's not for sale.
Yet.
But I believe, like, after they got reunited, Han Solo is talking about what parts they need to repair the Millennium Falcon, because I specifically remembered that part of the deal for getting the deed was to give the Millennium Falcon back to the Singing Mountain clan, which they did with their motherfucking rancors.
They dragged that fucking thing all the way back.
And then they suspended it in the air somehow, which was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, okay, we probably... Okay, the parts that they need is not really important, just a bunch of fancy schmancy replacement parts they need for the Millennium Falcon. The only place they could give that at is at the Imperial base, where Gevzerian and Gevzerian and the rest of the stormtroopers are at, which is going to be very difficult.
Yes.
So now they need to find a guide to get them on the inside, which I believe, once again, names are escaping me right now, so please forgive me for that, but it's another former mountain of a Singing Mountain clan that has been exiled, but she...
Sister Baraka.
God damn it, Baraka, yeah.
Yes.
Whenever I hear her name, I'm like, what the hell? What did Baraka?
I've heard it Baraka, Bakura. This is Barukka.
Yeah, I keep on hearing it as Baraka, like Baraka from Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
But now I remember, yeah. They need to find Baraka because she has an intimate knowledge of the insides of the Imperial Stronghold and all that. Mm-hmm. And let's see, Iceholder, the droids, Chewbacca, Luke Skywalker, Leia, obviously.
Hell,
and
there's a point where before they leave, Tenennial brings Isolder up to her bedroom, starts getting dressed, pulls out 2 tunics of lizard hide, and says, "Which one do you think Luke will like best on me?"
yeah.
It's like, the fuck?
And I think, was it the green one that she ultimately picked? Because Isolder's like, it matches your eyes or something.
Yes, the green goes better with your eyes.
Yeah. But no, the entire time Isolder is just thinking how primitive she is in comparison to the other women of Hapes and all that. But
this is also when they meet Mother Rel.
Mother Rel? Oh yeah, the one who could see the future. I remember now.
Yes. Inconsistency between this book and Child of Dathomir.
Yeah.
Eric had Ogwyn be in the place of Mother Rel.
Nice.
Having, like, the old crone who can see the future and everything. It's like, oh, that's an interesting little switch.
And of course, she foresees the future like, oh, you're going to start a new Jedi Order, Luke Skywalker. And she's all like, how is Yoda, that old flirt?
Yep. How are your wife and children? And Luke's just like, what?
What?
How is Master Yoda, that old flirt? Oh, Prince Isolder, but I thought Githzerian killed you. It's like, oh no. Mother Rel is nearly 300 years old.
She's no bitch. Oh man, yeah. Just
she sees all kinds of possible futures.
Yeah, I think it's also really interesting that the sisters are capable of, what was it? I wouldn't say precognition, foresight maybe? I'm trying to figure out the proper term.
Yeah, but that poor woman is 300 years old.
Oh yeah, she is.
Like, her mind is just so gone that she's seeing all these different kind of futures and possibilities, but she doesn't know what's real.
That is very true, yeah. That interesting dilemma there. Ultimately, she's a minor character, but just throwing out vague possibilities like, oh, how's your wife and children, Luke Skywalker?
He's just like, what?
But yeah, and then eventually they round up, so they specifically get the employee of, I believe, 3 Rancors, a mother with 2 sons.
Yes, Leia chose to ride an old sow, a herd leader named Tosh.
Yeah, Taj. I love her so much.
And the way they portray the Rancors as sentient
beings
and creatures who have this kind of clan-like societal structure is just so fucking cool.
And the way that they like they climb mountains, they traverse all of this terrain that would be normally difficult for any other sentient beings, but they just carry on like it's just another
like it's
cakewalk.
nothing.
Yeah, so cool. I would love to have them as mounts if possible.
And the way they sat, I think they all paired up differently.
Yeah, I believe Isolder is with Leia.
Isolder's with Leia.
And of course, Han Solo with Chewbacca, and I believe
Luke is in with Tenennial.
Yeah, Tenennial. And that entire journey, Han Solo's like, I see how she looks at you, and I know how you look at her. Don't miss this opportunity, kid.
Yeah, and Luke's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, Han Solo also being kind of a wingman over here. But
and Han's also trying to make Leia jealous.
Yeah. Classic marital stuff, but I think
it's not even marital. They're not married yet.
Well, not yet anyway, but we're jumping ahead a little bit. But I also like how Isolder and Han Solo are kind of just forcing the Rancors to bump into each other like side to side, and Leia's like, cut it off, you two.
Yeah. Hell, there's one point where during one such incident, Han's Rancor knocked free a stone that barely missed crushing Isolder. Yeah. The prince glared up at Han, and Han smiled weakly. Sorry. Perhaps not sorry enough. If you cannot steal her from me, do you think to murder me?
Motherfucking Isolder's like, I'm going to motherfucking kill you sooner or later, Han. And then
he describes Han as abrasive, oafish, and slime.
Yeah. I think Didn't Han Solo also describe Isolder as slime too?
Yeah, but that's just because Isolder called him slime first.
That is very
It's
true.
so fucking petty.
Yeah, they're both acting like first graders.
Yeah,
It's
they're
so
acting
fucking
like
hilarious.
kids.
It's so hilarious. And then they eventually make it to Baraka's cave, but she isn't there, obviously.
Yeah, so they just make camp there.
Yeah, they make camp. And then eventually Baraka comes back. Oh, actually, I think I remember Han Solo was just going somewhere. And then he encountered a sea monster. And to Ennio was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. We let her loose like a couple years ago. She's grown bigger now.
Well, during that, Tenennial describes Tosh telling her children of how her ancestors first met the witches.
Yeah, it's a lot of more world building here.
Yes, so much more world building.
Yeah, the Rancors are so cool in this book. I love it.
Yeah, and here's another discrepancy between Legends and canon.
Yeah.
You told me earlier that the Rancors will not serve the Night Sisters, Luke said. Why is that? The Night Sisters treat them badly, as if they were mere slaves, so the Rancors always run away.
Yeah, a lot of indiscrepancies there, because even in Legends, there are some Night Sisters that tame Rancors and use them as mounts, but in this book,
In this book, they don't.
They
Like
don't.
the Rancors don't trust the Night Sisters.
Yeah, a lot of inconsistencies, but it's a first book, so I
like it.
Yeah,
I like the inconsistencies because, like, it originally started out like this, but then it changed into this.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here's where they talk about women holding power over men. It just political ideations and da-da-da-da.
Yeah, the classic stuff. Like, I think I remember Luke Skywalker was, to Ennio is heads over heels for Luke, but Luke Skywalker's like, you just met me. Why should I get married to you? And Ennio is trying to do her best to convince Luke Skywalker, but Luke is not having any of it.
Here it is. There's a monster in the pond.
There it is.
Green, it's got tentacles. It tried to eat me. Oh, yes. I forgot about her. You mean you knew there was a monster in there? The Clan Sisters put her in the lake several years ago.
Yeah, I remember that. It was so hilarious. Like,
That was
yeah,
funny.
I remember that.
And here's where Baraka shows up.
Yeah, Baraka, who is a fairly interesting character. Once again, wish we got more on her, but what we got is pretty cool. Like, she does this entire magical incantation where she brings to life this map that she has, which has a full 3D view of the entire...
It's just out of dust.
It's out of dust, but it describes it. I don't know why. It reminds me of those flashbacks where it's just ink and those basic drawings and all that sort of stuff, but playing to life on the sand and everything.
Yeah.
And then it describes this one figure coming out, looking up to the sky, and Baraka's like, Githzerion!
Here's something. Githzerion is her sister.
Yep.
I think in this context, Githzerion was one of the daughters of Ogwen.
Mm-hmm.
So that means Baraka is one of Ogwen's daughters.
Yeah. A little bit of inconsistency there because, the old crone is like 300 years old, but Leia, that's how you say her. Alia. According to lore, was exiled to Dathomir like 600 years before the battle.
She could have been one of Alia's daughters.
That is true, yes.
But then they say in an earlier part that most of Alia's daughters didn't live until like 16.
Yeah. And then, of course, we have the 300-year-old future-seeing woman over here.
Yeah. And another difference between the book and D&D with Eric. Ogwen and Githzerion were sisters in the campaign.
But obviously that is not the case here.
Yes, I know. But it was a nice dynamic.
It was a nice dynamic. But yeah, just more further hints of Githzerion and her scary power that she was able to detect this readout.
Apparently, Githzerion gave Tenennial gifts during Winterfest.
Yeah.
She was cast out of the clan 7 years ago.
But they still celebrated basically Dathomir Christmas together.
Yeah, that's cool.
But then after
Chapter
that,
19.
yeah, we go forward to the Imperial base. How they got into the base was kind of, I don't know, it kind of was hand wavy, if that makes any sense, because Isolder was like, oh, we could get into one of those grape gathering droids, harvester droids, whatever they're called. And Han Solo's like, how the hell would you know how that droid works? How do we know it wouldn't detect biological life forms inside its chassis and just sound the alarm? He's like, that's because they're from Hapes space. I'm like, that is so coincidental. How the fuck do the Imperials have Hapen droids?
Technology.
Hapen droids, because throughout this entire book, they specifically say that they haven't connected with any outsider for like years until Princess Leia approached them. How the fuck do the Imperials have Hapen droids?
Yeah.
It was kind of hand wavy, but whatever. That's one way to get into the facility, I guess.
Another cool little detail right at the beginning. Tenaniel says she can send a message to Ogwyn about the way the numbers of the prison.
Yeah.
Half whispers, half sings a spell.
Yeah.
We're talking at great distances, and I just I love that.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like a, what was it, the message spell from D&D.
Except unlimited words.
Pretty much, yeah.
Let's see. Tenaniel unharnesses the Rancors to let them go do their own thing while they go in. Oh, Tosh roars a lonely wailing call bidding them farewell, so the Rancors are like, good luck! Don't die!
Like I said, the Rancors are awesome in this book.
I love them.
I want to hug them so badly.
I want one.
Probably wouldn't fit in my apartment, but yes, I will want one.
Harvester droids. Yeah, are you sure it will work? Do you have a better idea?
That is true, yes.
Third, I know these harvest droids don't have any internal shredders because those are Hapen model HD 234Cs.
Yeah, it's just so specific.
That is very specific.
Yeah, like, how the fuck would the Imperials have that specific droid at this specific place?
Yeah, I could see why.
Yeah, it was just kind of hand wavy. Like, I figured, like, the writers, like, oh, I can't figure out another way to do it. Yeah, fuck it, nobody will notice if we make these Hapen droids.
Anyway, brings them inside, dumps them out under the kitchens.
Also, I do like how it briefly mentions that Tenaniel, who's not very used to technology, was kind of scared that she might get crushed in the harvest droid or something like that.
Yeah, she was like very hesitant to
claustrophobic.
get in the droid.
And then Luke Skywalker was just calming her down, sort of thing. But they get inside the prison, and there was just this random janitor who's like, who the fuck are you guys? Are you also prisoners here?
No, they ended up in under the kitchens in the surface tunnel for the food processors.
There we go, yeah.
As they're crawling through the tunnel, they come across basically the laundry room of the prison. And there's a grate and then the room.
Yep.
They have to look up and it's like, hey, can you get us out of here? And the poor old man's like, I don't know the access codes.
And then I think Han Solo was doing the access codes, and then he shoots it, and nothing. Well, they managed to get out, but obviously it doesn't raise the alarm when Leia was all like, how do I know you're going to not raise the alarm? He's like, don't worry, I got this. Pew!
But here we find out what kind of prisoners are exactly here in this prison.
Yeah.
Where is it? Lighten up, Luke answered. He's harmless. How can you be so sure? Han said. He's a criminal after all. Wait a minute, Han, Leia said. I feel it too. What are you in here for? I objected to the Empire, the old laundryman said. I ran an aerospace engineering firm on Coruscant. When they tried to steal some of our designs, we burned our buildings to the ground.
Yep.
I'm afraid that if you're looking for dangerous felons, you've come to the wrong facility. So they're all political prisoners and objectors to the Empire.
Pretty much, but not dangerous enough that they need to be executed. So
Exactly.
So
they just left them all here on Dathomir.
I'm like, no, it's okay. They're not going to do anything. They're being surrounded by witches anyway, so who cares?
Exactly.
And then I believe
there are 3,000 people there.
Yeah. And specifically, they got into prisoner garbs, and they called in a bunch of stormtroopers, and Han was doing this entire thing. Hey, the classic Han thing.
Pretending. Fake it till you make it.
Fake it until you make it, Han Solo style. They knock out the stormtroopers, drag their bodies, and put them in a closet, and Luke and Han Solo, and I believe Isolder, put on the gears of the stormtroopers, and they go about their merry way into the facility.
Yep.
And then they have this little encounter with a robed figure who they were all like, oh, we're just taking these. Okay, so the robed figure was all like, what are you guys doing down here? And Han Solo was like, oh,
there's a discussion between the droids and Chewie.
Yeah, I remember that, specifically that. It was all like, oh, we're just laying a trap, basically. And Seafried was like, oh, I gotta warn them, but how? They're already in there.
Singe has learned from monitoring radio broadcasts that General Solo is here on planet, and Gazarian has negotiated to sell Han to
Try again.
Singe's men. She says she found the skid mark showing where the sisters of the Sing Mountain clan took the Falcon. So she anticipates Han will come to the city looking for spare parts. She set a trap.
Yeah.
It's a trap!
It's a trap! Insert Admiral Akbar meme here. But then inside the facility, they have his encounter with his robed figure who was asking them, what are you doing around here? Oh, we had a disturbance in Cell Block 5 or whatever.
Cell Block C.
Cell Block C. And she was like,
Night Sisters.
Okay. And then Tenennial, when they were in when they were in the elevator, she's like, that was Gevzerian, and everybody's like, oh shit.
Gevzerian!
And then I think at this occasion Luke Skywalker had a vision that Dathomir was going to be covered in darkness. He's like, oh, what the fuck is this? And they go into basically the basement of this base where there was a bunch of scrap metal, and they're like, oh, there's already an attack ship here, what the hell?
Yeah, just to briefly tell again about how fucking threatening Gethzerian is.
Yeah.
I sense your fear, the Night Sister said.
Yeah.
What would a Night Sister have to fear here in our domain? Yeah. Fucking terrifying.
Yeah, she is. Then yeah, as they were scavenging parts, I think Tenennial saw a bunch of Night Sisters just lurking in the shadows, and there was a conversation with Luke Skywalker, and then Tenennial, I believe at that instance, she tapped into the dark side, and Luke Skywalker was trying to bring her out of it, sort of thing. I know. I'm just basing all of this off of memory, and you have a book over there.
Yep. The Baratha and her group of Night Sisters show up.
But no, it's just
the Tenennial's like getting fucking choked by this bitch.
Oh yeah, she was getting force choked by a Night Sister, and then Luke got her out of it.
And Baratha's like, you are no spellcaster! And then Baratha and the Night Sisters are all summoning backup. Gethzerian, come to us!
But I think motherfucking Tenennial just dropped a bunch of debris on the Night Sisters or something like that.
And that's like, no, don't give in to anger. That's not Gethzerian. That's not her. Yeah. I mean, I think there's one point where Damn you, Githzerion, Teneniel shouted into the air. I'm sick of the way you hunt us. I'm sick of trying to stay out of your path. I'm sick of the way you hurt and kill. I'm sick. Luke looked at Teneniel's face, realized that she was enraged, mad beyond reason.
Yeah.
He could feel the force of her wrath. Her face was red, and tears streamed from her eyes. She was pissed. And Luke says, "No, don't give in to anger. That's not Githzerion."
Yeah. And then I think after that, they got into the ship and got the fuck out of Dodge, basically.
Yes, they did.
And then they crash land into a nearby river.
Yes, because this ship is also cobbled together.
Pretty much, yeah.
The Night Sisters are trying to build this ship.
Yeah, pretty much. They were almost complete, but Han Solo got the parts that he needed, and they managed to crash land again. And let's see, I think C-3PO meets up with him, and he tells him about the trap that Githzerion was playing for Han Solo. And then they tapped into a old communication network that was hacked by R2-D2. And there was this interesting conversation between Zinj and Githzerion, where they were doing the classic bad guy stuff, promising stuff.
General Melvar, actually.
Oh, one of his lackeys. Never mind.
And this guy in the audiobook is described as just so fucking scary looking.
Yeah, a lot of missed potential in this book, but we'll get to that in a little bit. And then afterwards, Leia was like, I expected Zinj to be. I didn't expect Zinj to be after you that badly, Han. What did you do? And then Han's like, okay, fine. I may have blown up his ship and said, kiss my Wookiee. And Isolder's like, really? You went up to one of the most powerful warlords in the entire galaxy and you said, kiss my Wookiee. And he was like, yeah?
You said kiss my Wookiee to the most powerful warlord in the galaxy. Yep.
Yeah. Classic Han Solo.
That's the first time Isolder calls him his friend.
Yeah, I love that moment too. And it's such a Han Solo thing to say, kiss my Wookiee.
Yes, it is.
So anyway, they got their parts, they put it on the Rancors and make their way back to the Singing Mountain clan, because I believe they were also trying to get up there because they found out that they're about to attack the Singing Mountain clan.
The Night Sisters are on their way.
They are on their way with an entire contingent of stormtroopers and walkers.
And Night Sisters.
Yeah. And then, let's see, they managed to make their way up there, and then Luke Skywalker's like, I'm going to go on my own, see if I could ambush the Night Sisters. And there was this brief little fight between the Rancors, Luke Skywalker, an Imperial Walker, and a singular young Night Sister.
Or little talk between Teneniel and Isolder.
Oh yeah, this was also the part where Teneniel gave up on her swoon with Luke Skywalker at this point.
Yeah.
That's
where she starts falling in love with Isolder.
Yeah, and then at that moment, Githzerion tried to influence Han Solo's dreams as well.
When, this is right before that, this is when Teneniel and Luke basically break up.
Yeah. Poor Teneniel.
Hear Githzerion. I think everybody started to hear her. Githzerion has been marching her troops through the night so she can attack your clan at dawn.
Yeah.
Okay. Chapter 22.
Yeah, we're almost at the end.
Almost.
Almost. But yeah, I think it's kind of interesting because they described that encounter between Luke and that singular Night Sister because she was like she was a
girl.
She was basically a girl, but and Luke Skywalker was trying his damnedest not to kill her, but obviously she wasn't backing down, and Tosh just smashes the fuck out of that Night Sister because the Walker actually killed her daughter.
No, I think it. I thought the walker killed her son.
Oh yeah, the son. Sorry.
Because male rancors are smaller than female rancors.
That is true. Yeah. And Taj just smashed that Night Sister into a bloody paste. Yeah, do not piss off them over Rancor.
Yeah,
they are terrifying.
Here it is. Don't make me kill you. Promise me you'll leave Gethzerion and her clan forever. And nope.
Smack. And then the rest of that is just a huge race against time as the Night Sisters are besieging the Singing Mountain clan, and Han Solo is trying his damnedest to prepare the Millennium Falcon. And
about 2 hours.
Yeah, pretty much. I also like how they describe the Rancors as basically yeeting boulders at the Night Sisters and the Walkers.
No, they're just chucking boulders.
And then Luke Skywalker has his first encounter with Gethzerion, and she just motherfucking flicks her wrist at Luke Skywalker, knocking him out instantly.
Nope, I got it right here.
Oh, there you go.
This is gonna be a whole page.
I'm ready.
The Lone Witch glared at Luke. Gethzerion pulled back her hood to show the purpled veins of her face. Red glowing eyes were wide with surprise. So, she said loudly to be heard of the sounds of battle, we meet. And I have been aware of the stirrings of your force. I have always wanted to meet a Jedi, yet here I passed one in the halls of my own prison and never recognized him. She studied Luke momentarily, as if waiting to confirm that he was a Jedi. I've met your kind before, Luke said. Listen to me, Gethzerion. Turn away from the dark side before it's too late. Gethzerion nodded thoughtfully. Pardon me if I say that I don't find you to be very impressive, young Jedi. It is a shame that you must die before you have a chance to witness how I make your friends writhe. She pointed a finger at Luke. Before Luke could even recognized her evil intent, a ripple of force slammed into him. White lights exploded behind his eyes, and the right side of his face had felt as if it had been smashed by a hammer. His left arm and right leg crumpled underneath their unbearable weight, and he dropped to the ground on one knee, stunned. All the noise and blaster fire and screams of pain died away, became a distant roaring. Gethzerion pointed at him again, twitched her finger, and his eyes lost focus.
Damn.
He felt the hammer blow to his left temple, dropped to his side, and rolled over onto his back, gasping. Luke stared up at the sky, watching streams of rocks hurtling above him, some propelled by the Force, others hurled by Rancors. Time seemed to slow. His head throbbed, pounding to the same rhythm as the beating of his heart. His face had gone cold, numb, and Luke realized distantly that Gethzerion's spell had ripped open the blood vessels of his brain. What the fuck?
Yeah, Gethzerion is scary.
That is one scary bitch.
She one scary bitch.
That is also why I like her, but god damn.
Oh man, but yeah, oddly enough, besides that, it also goes back to Ennio, who fought another Night Sister, and I believe she basically killed the Night Sister in front of the other...
Another Singing Mountain clan.
And then she got the purple veins, which is very...
She burst a vessel.
She burst
which is the sign of a Night Sister. Or the mark.
Yeah, the mark of a Night Sister, and she realized it, and she was like, what have I done? And she basically... Yeah, a lot of, very,
It's a whole fucking fight scene.
Yeah, it's a whole fucking fight scene, and fortunately they were able to drive off the Night Sisters for now, at least. And
when they got up to the, Falcon, there are a lot of dead sisters, but there are Night Sisters, and one's trying to steal Isolder.
Yeah, that's per usual. Always gotta swoon over the attractive man over here. And then after the battle, there was, Leia was all like, could you please heal this Night Sister over here? And
yeah, but that said Night Sister got burned by the jets of
Yeah.
the Falcon.
She was barbecue.
She turned into Night Sister Barbecue. Tenennial survived, but she got singed.
Yeah.
At the Falcon exhaust ports. But Tenennial didn't want to hurt her. Here we go. Okay. Chapter 24.
Oh boy. I never knew a book club episode would last this long. Holy
I
shit.
know, right? It's a long book.
It is a very long book, very surprisingly, but I believe okay. This one part was really interesting because Han Solo, he couldn't quite so I think they repaired the Millennium Falcon at this point, but he basically gets contacted by a vision of Gezerian, who showed him the slaughtering of a numerous innocents at the prison complex. Yeah. So like she basically gives him an ultimatum because she was very desperate at this point, because I know I'm jumping a lot this episode, but they listened in on another conversation between Zinj and Gezerian, who was if you do have Han Solo, give him to me within 12 hours or something like that. And Gezerian was doing everything she absolutely can to get Han Solo, because she says, oh, yeah, I do have Han Solo. She's like, fuck. And
fuck.
But
Gotta go get him.
But yeah, she basically gave this vision to Han Solo of all the innocent people dying. And she's like, give yourself up within 12 hours or else more innocent people will die. And Han Solo, being the good chap that he is, he didn't want more innocent people to die because of him. But
she's killing them.
Yeah, she is literally killing them.
She killed 50 people.
Yeah, she did. And Han Solo's like, okay, fuck this shit. And, he gave a couple of goodbyes to Leia. And
meanwhile, while that's happening, Luke is still at the bottom of a canyon fucking dying.
Yeah, and this other part is what I mentioned to be really trippy, because I think it described it as like every plant, every animal is lending their life essence to Luke or something like that.
Basically a fucking spirit bomb.
Pretty much.
A Goku spirit bomb.
A Goku spirit bomb. When you put it like that, sure. But Han Solo goes to the Millennium Falcon, and he literally goes into a chest that holds a lot of illegal weapons, and he takes out a thermal detonator, which is used specifically by terrorists, by the way.
Yes.
So like, okay, might as well do this with might as well go out with a blaze of glory and take Gezerian down with me.
And hell, the way that Leia's trying to say, I love you,
yeah.
It's like, I like some things about you. I like the way your pants fit. And he says, I know.
And then she finally says, I love you. And he's like, I know.
No, she wanted to, but she didn't want to hurt him. He just knew.
Yeah, very Han Solo thing to do.
You love me, I've always known.
Yeah.
And that's when she's like, where the fuck is my brother?
But no, this is like this is one of those moments where I really like Han Solo's character growth, because throughout the entire book he's all like, Dathomir is my planet, you love me, Leia, I gotta get us out of here, we'll eventually come back here, kick Zinj off of my planet. But in this instance he's very accepting. He's like, I love you, Leia, and I have to do this because I was very selfish. I'm the very reason why we're on this planet to begin with, but I'm going to redeem myself and take down Gezerian with me. And then he does find Luke Skywalker at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah,
it's like, oh my
he
god.
sees him down there. It's like, what the fuck? Are you alive?
And then he had a bunch of tribes people go up and take Luke back to the Singing Mountain clan. He's like, see you along, kid. And Luke's like, where are you going? No, what the fuck?
Chapter 26.
Yeah.
Isolder and Tenennial love interest shit.
Oh yeah, I also like this particular scene where Isolder was like, point out to what star and I'll tell you about it, blah, blah, blah.
That was before.
Well, yeah, that was before, but I'm just jumping back because context. And then Iceholder was like, oh, that's the such as those system. And I find this particular conversation very interesting because he talked about this one star system where he's like, oh, bunch of shipbuilders. They make really luxurious ships. They're all dead now. But if you look through a telescope right where you are right now, you could peer into the past. And I think that's a really interesting concept because even with faster than light speed, the light wouldn't reach where you are right now unless it's like thousands of years in the past, which I think is a really good concept that they put in this book, because technically everything that's happening in Star Wars right now is happening in the past.
There's another fun or little cool connect or like Night Sister thing.
Yeah.
Or not Night Sister, but Dathomir Witch. That Tenennial says, "I've done nothing," Tenennial said, her voice frank, innocent. "You're the one who has done it. You and I are connected. I should have realized that in the desert when I first saw you. I knew immediately that you had come to that spot looking for someone to love just as I had. And I felt the connection grow stronger for days. You can't fall in love with a witch of Dathomir without her knowing it, not if she loves you in return."
Yeah.
So basically that's just confirming they love each other. He's gotten over Leia. Let's fucking go.
Yeah. Han Solo doesn't have to worry about the love triangle anymore. Yay.
And right at the end of that, they kiss.
All right, and then we'll go forward. Okay, so Luke Skywalker is all like, no, just give me a moment to rest, basically, and we'll rescue Han Solo. And then it goes to Han Solo.
He's like, wake me up in 3 hours.
Wake me up in 3 hours. Self-care routine to Skywalker over here. Jesus. And then this is probably, the next part that we talk about is probably one of my most favorite scenes in the entire book. Han Solo goes to the Imperial base, just waiting around for like hours and hours. And then an Imperial shuttle comes in. Well, actually, I think it's
hover car. It's Getsarion's hover car.
Yeah, it's Getsarion's motherfucking hover car. Picks up Han Solo, takes him back to the Imperial base.
Full of 20 Night Sisters.
Now that is terrifying. Just 20 Night Sisters in this bumper car. But like I said, this is my most favorite scene, where it's this really tense moment where Zinja's second in command comes down, like talking Novar, and he's like, "All right, you got Han Solo," and just inspecting Han Solo. Gevzerion comes out, and Han Solo's like, "Ha, how about this?" And he clicks on the explosive. Nothing happens, and Gevzerion was all like, "Did you really take me for a fool, Han Solo? My sisters knew that you packed that explosive the very moment you got into a speeder. All I had to do was just disable it." I was like, that is terrifying.
Yep.
And then afterwards, I think she murders the general. She was like, "I'll give you a quick and painless death." And then she goes over...
simple death.
A very simple death. And then she decides, you know what? For you, Han Solo, since you gave me so much trouble, I'm going to give you the most agonizing death of all. How many bones are there in the human body? And I can't remember what part she...
Oh,
there you go.
Gotta do it. Let me read it.
Go for it. It's my most favorite scene of the entire book.
Getsarion twitched her finger, and Han jerked upright, found himself with his feet dangling in the air, held by an invisible cord around his throat.
Yep.
Getsarion watched him intently, began to sing, swaying from side to side. He felt the noose around his neck tightening. Han choked, kicked, fought to break free. "I wonder what your thermal detonator would have done to me," Getsarion reflected, still swaying. "I suspect it would have blasted my flesh into scraps and broken my bones and fried me all at once. So I think I shall do all these things to you.
Yeah.
But not so hastily, not all at once. I think we shall work from the inside out. First, I'll snap your bones one by one. Do you know how many bones there are in the human body, General Solo? If you do, just triple the number, and you'll know how many bones you'll have when I finish with you. We'll begin with your leg." And she breaks his leg.
That part made me squirm the entire time I was listening to it.
Yup.
Yeah.
And then crushes his teeth.
No, I think Han Solo was, he noticed the Millennium Falcon in the background, and he was trying to do everything he can to distract Gevzerion. It's like, no, anything but my teeth, and gives her. He's like, ooh, that's a good idea, actually.
Han's right upper rear molar exploded with a popping sound. Ouch!
Oh no.
God damn.
Yeah, Gethzerion is terrifying. She is such a great villain.
She is. She really is.
Oh no.
Han's upper rear molar exploded with a popping sound, and the stabbing pain shot through his ear and upper face until it felt as if Gethzerion had grabbed his eye at the socket and were intent on pulling it through the roof of his mouth. This is shit I did not expect to see in a Star Wars book.
Yeah, me neither. Which is why it stood out so much to me. Jesus Christ.
All right, moving on from torture.
Torture porn. Then Luke Skywalker comes in with a Millennium Falcon, just.
Luke, Han asks, who's flying? Luke. Luke? Luke's not that good. Nobody's this good.
Apparently he is now. But no, like, I think if they basically describe that Luke Skywalker is piloting the Millennium Falcon and manning the guns at the same time, I
Yes,
believe.
he is.
Yes,
He's
all
using
with the Force.
He's using the Force to shoot the guns.
It is so fucking cool.
Let's see. I think this is when the Night Sisters are loading up into their ship, because
Yeah.
Gethzerion got into the ship.
Oh yeah, god damn it. Another important context. After the battle at the Singing Mountain, all of Dathomir is covered in darkness.
Yes, because of
the orbital night cloaks,
Yep.
yeah. Which Zinj is like, they are a wonderful toy, I can assure you.
bastard. Fat bastard!
Oh man.
Almost done.
We are almost done. They get into the ship. They go after Gethzerion because they didn't want her loose of the galaxy now.
No, they are like getting ready to go to lightspeed.
Yeah. And then I think Luke, I don't know specifically what they did, but they basically tried to do some signal jamming, and the Star Destroyers realized that the gunship didn't have Imperial friendlies on it, so they opened fire on the gunship.
Yeah, Zinj's people killed Gethzerion.
Very unceremoniously, which is, I was like, damn it, I wish I could have gotten more from Gethzerion, but
I know, right?
she died very unceremoniously.
Yeah, what a terrible way for a great villainess to die.
Exactly. If she escaped, she would have been the greatest reoccurring antagonist in that book series.
Someone needs to write, what if Gethzerion escaped?
Yeah, that would have been fucking awesome. Because she was an amazing villain, but she just died just like that.
Yeah.
And then they retreated, and then I believe, you'll probably get to the entry in a little bit, but Luke Skywalker kind of just fired randomly and shut off one of the satellites of the orbital night cloak.
And then there is one point where they see the Haven Battle Dragons and the Imperial Destroyer, and Han asks, who's on that Star Destroyer? Zinj.
Yeah, and he was like, I'm gonna end this once and for all, and he slips the Millennium Falcon into the shields of a Super Star Destroyer and contacts Zinj on open frequency, and then Han Solo's like, kiss my Wookiee, and blows up the bridge.
This is General Han Solo. Look up at your view screen, you vermin. Kiss my Wookiee!
And then another villain just boop, exploded, just like that.
You fat bastard!
Yeah, even though Zinj was kind of the background antagonist for the entire book, he was also killed off very unceremoniously. Yeah, which is very unfortunate because I know we're kind of, I know I keep saying this, but we're jumping back and forth. I remember this potent conversation that Han Solo had with Leia, where he basically described the campaign against all these warlords as basically, there's this creature underneath this veil of fog, and I see its head peering out every once in a while. I cut off its head, think it's over, But then another head appears out from the fog, and it just keeps happening over and over again. Where does it end? And that's a conversation that really sticks out to me from that book. And it's really emblematic of the motherfucking war against the remnants of the Empire.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with the Hydra quote. You cut off one head, another one takes its place.
Yes. And then, of course, Han releases Leia from the bed, and she's like, nope, I don't release you. Kisses him, whole romance, da-da-da-da.
Oh, yeah, and then the next scene with the Queen Mother and Tenio, and the big reveal that Tuachum was the one who killed Iceholder's brother.
Yes. Yes, big reveal. Plot twist. Isolder literally blows up at his mother. I understand murder. I understand infanticide.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay, here's just another little bit to show how much of a bitch Tuachum is.
Yeah.
You cannot marry a woman from this uncivilized little mud hole. I forbid it. Yeah. She can't be the Queen Mother of Hapes. Technically, she is a princess. Huh. She sent the assassins. She admits she sent the assassins. And then, you asked for an alliance I could not approve of, Tuachum said. You chose a dowryless pacifist from a democracy. Listen to her talk about her vaunted new republic. For 4,000 years, our family has ruled the Hapen cluster, but you would turn Hapes over to her, and in a generation, her children would surrender the control of the government, give it over to the rabble.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
She didn't want to deny him outright because she still wanted to hold up his sense of loyalty to her.
Yeah.
Manipulative Mother of the Year.
I think it also is something that Iceholder kind of puts forward too, because the entire reason why he chose Princess Leia is because the Hapes Consortium needs better leadership. Tuachum is a warmonger, she's ruthless. We don't need that kind of leader anymore, which is why I chose Princess Leia, because she's a pacifist at heart. But at least Tenio is also a pacifist in sorts.
Isolder even says, was my brother too weak to rule? Is that it? Have you never intended to let anyone but you choose your successor?
Yeah.
Referring to his mother. Keep your assumptions to yourself, she said vehemently. Don't ponder things that you can't possibly understand. You are, after all, only a male.
Yeah.
Imagine hearing that from your own mother.
Yeah, that is very, very harsh.
We're almost done, I swear.
We are almost done, but it is a very interesting thing to talk about. But, yeah, the wedding happens with Han Solo and Leia, and then Luke Skywalker meets C-3PO. Is like, oh, we need to call off the wedding. And Luke Skywalker's like, why? Han Solo is actually not royalty because his ancestor was deposed so-and-so years ago. And Luke Skywalker's like, oh, is that so? And then he literally had to shut off C-3PO.
He shuts him off as like, fuck that. Let's go get this done.
We're not going to worry about that.
And the last line of this book is just so good. It brings it together.
It really does. Go for it, Hannah.
The last paragraph, at least.
Yeah.
She turned and glanced at Luke, the diadems in her veil flashing in the light, and Luke could feel that she was not angry at him for having arrived late, only grateful that he had made it. And at that moment, Leia was more serene, more content than she had ever been in her life. And perhaps she was as filled with joy as anyone could be.
Yeah.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of Courtship of Princess Leia.
Damn good book.
I love this book!
All right, this is where we get our personal opinions on the book after going through the synopsis of the entire book. How about you, Hannah? What is your review on The Courtship of Princess Leia?
Such a good book.
It is.
Such a good book. I mean, it's got the political intrigue. It's like, I love politics, at
Yeah.
least Star Wars politics.
Yeah.
As I've said many times before. But it's like, the Hapes Consortium, it's just the first mention of the Hapes Consortium, the first mention of Dathomir and the Witches of Dathomir, the Night Sisters. It shows how big a threat of the Night Sisters they are.
Yeah.
Gethzerion is such a great antagonist. It just, I love this book. One of my favorites.
Yeah, it's
It's up there with the Thrawn trilogy.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of mixed things about the Courtship of Princess Leia because, well, the obvious downside with Han kidnapping Leia
Yes.
with a gun of command and
But
all that.
I personally am willing to overlook that in the whole gist of the book.
It is... What's the best way to describe this? It's kind of like a burned pizza, at least the crust is burned, but the rest of the pizza is awesome.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. For me personally, I've heard a lot of mixed things about the Courtship of Princess Leia, but actually getting around to listening to the audiobook, it was freaking good. Well, this is a usual thing with audiobooks anyway, but the sound effects, the classical Star Wars themes playing throughout, it just reminds me that this does sound like something that could happen in the original trilogy. Now, there are some inconsistencies here and there.
There are a few.
Yeah,
Like I pointed out.
Yeah, there are more than a few, but that's more lore stuff outside of A Courtship of Princess Leia. If you look at it by itself, it's a really damn good book for its time.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And let me see. There's like I mentioned with the Gethzerian thing with Han Solo, that's one of my most favorite scenes from that book.
There are so many favorite scenes in this book that I have. I could not describe just one.
Yeah.
I love the book as a whole.
That is true, yeah. There are a couple of hand-wavy things that happen throughout the book, like I mentioned with
The Hapen droids.
the Hapen Harvester droid. Obviously, Han Solo abducting Princess Leia. That I have a feeling like the writers couldn't think of a good way to get them
everyone to Dathomir.
Dathomir, but and also like coincidentally, Luke Skywalker found a recording of Dathomir. Han Solo gets the deed of Dathomir. They conveniently just meet up at the same planet, but it's Star Wars. I could understand. It's kind of hand-wavy that the Force wills it and all that stuff, but...
That's a good way to put it. It's just the will of the Force.
Yeah, it's a common trope that you always see in the Star Wars franchise as a whole. I think...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I remember there was, like, this one scene from Knights of the Old Republic where one of the characters like, oh, this is very convenient. It would be just as convenient if the Sith Lord just happened to be at the end of a hole over there. It's very convenient. But, yeah, it's the will of the Force bullshit, that sort of thing.
Here's a good one.
Yeah.
Favorite character of this book?
Obviously, Gethzerion is a very great antagonist for this book.
Okay, how about favorite protagonist?
Okay.
Or just favorite characters?
I really liked Tenenyo.
Tenenyo?
She was a great waifu character throughout that book. Iceholder, he is a good rival. He's a good foil to Han Solo.
Agreed.
Like both of them have very similar life experiences. Like Han Solo is a smuggler who's done his fair share of illegal deeds. Iceholder, he's lived a pirate's life. He's obviously way more than your average self-absorbed prince from a royal family.
Yeah, he's not just a snobby prince. He saw his brother die and went under the service of a ship captain. Served as a pirate for a few years.
And he can also take care of himself really well.
Basically told his mother, fuck you, we're joining the New Republic.
Yeah. I forget the captain of his guard. Astarta. She was fairly interesting because she obviously also had feelings for Iceholder. It's like looking out for his well-being.
Exactly,
but
yeah.
A lot of interesting characters. Oh, that motherfucking warlord, reptile warlord. Alma. She was cool. She was very cool.
Omog was pretty cool.
Feed them methane.
Make them breathe methane. That is not a good way to die.
No, it is not.
You're just breathing in farts.
Yeah, pretty much. What else? I would say Zinj, but he was barely there, except in conversations and passing, and obviously his death scene by Han Solo's hands. I'm not sure if he appears in the other novels, but it would have been cool to gotten more of him. But I understand it's from the point of view of the main characters and all of that, so we obviously couldn't get his perspective on things, but wish we could have gotten more of a lot of characters, in all honesty.
Well, but to be fair, this was mainly focused on the relationship between Leia, Isolder, and Han, and everything else kind of took a backseat.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I like that, though. It's not just focusing on the Force and just shoving it all down your throat. It's mentioned here and there, but it's not just solely focused on the Jedi.
Yeah.
It's focused on the political intrigue, seeing a new planet, seeing a new culture of this new planet.
Especially with a culture that has their own unique perspective on the Force.
Exactly. Yeah. And they have a different way of society compared to the rest of the galaxy. I love that.
Yeah, a lot of world building with this book.
So good. That's another part I love about this book.
So yeah, favorite character, antagonist-wise, Givzerian. Really cool, really intimidating. She had that aura that was very consistent throughout the book, at least on Dathomir, that is.
Yes.
But wish we could have gotten more of her. Only criticism I have for her. And favorite one on the hero side that isn't from a movie, Tianio is really Tianio. Tianio. I always mispronounce a lot of names, but that's beside the point. She's a really interesting character. She's obviously a very strong woman. Very capable.
She was a good potential love interest for Luke.
Very potential love interest, but obviously Luke wasn't about that and the culture shock and everything. She was very forceful about loving him, and Luke Skywalker's like, I barely know you. I think we should start off as friends.
Yeah, but give him a few more years and he meets Mara. It's like, okay, I like that one.
Yeah, he has a thing for redheads.
Yes, he does.
But obviously Luke Skywalker, being the Giga Chad that he is, very consistent in this book. Like we always meme on Luke Skywalker's portrayal in The Last Jedi and trying to strike down his own nephew.
You don't talk about the sequels.
Well, yeah, I know. But I do love how they portray Luke Skywalker in this book, where he's obviously trying to give people a second chance. Like, I don't want to fight you. Please walk away.
He is trying to be the best Jedi he can be.
Yeah, and I really like that. And also, Han Solo had a lot of character growth throughout his entire book.
He did.
Surprisingly enough.
Very surprising.
But yeah, that's, okay, the Givzerian scene and the scene where he basically gets his thermal detonator, says Leia goodbye, I'm going to do this. That really touched me up emotionally.
It was. It was very touching.
Like, in that entire scene, even C-3PO, who would probably, who we mentioned in the book, would probably do his best that Han Solo will come out of there alive, was just silent from that entire thing. I really love that.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
It's a very tense moment for the basic climax of the book.
Yeah, I was going in with the Courtship of Princess Leia with low expectations, but I came out of it loving the book.
Seriously, if you have not read it, please go read it. We just kind of skimmed over the major bits, but read it. I'd say read it before you listen to the video, because there are spoilers. But,
yeah.
Absolutely, it is on the read list for any EU fan.
Yeah, I highly recommend this book. It takes a good while to get to Dathomir.
Yes, it does.
And a lot of political bullshit in between, but there's a lot of...
But if you like that, it appeals to you.
Yeah. There's a good amount of... a little bit of action scenes, especially with that assassination attempt on Leia's life. But if you're patient and love the political intrigue, read this book. It is so good.
Yes, exactly.
But... what is your final score on this book, Anna?
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. I'll give it a fair 8.5 out of 10.
Fair enough.
It has its faults, don't get me wrong.
I mean, the only reason it is not a 10 for me is because of the lore inconsistencies and, Han's not so good character motivation, but...
But he makes up for it near the end.
Yes, it does. So it's not getting full marks, but 9 out of 10 is very generous.
It is very generous, especially with a early example of a Star Wars novel of its time.
Oh, yeah.
This was released back in 1994. So, yeah, it's a
When
very
was the
good
Thrawn
book.
series released?
Yeah. Goddamn. I think it was probably in the 90s, somewhere around there.
Well, this is just my suggestion for the next book club, but we might read the first book of the Thrawn trilogy. That's just me.
Boy.
But if we get more feedback on, if you guys want to hear more about this, give us suggestions on what EU books you guys want to hear us talk about and review.
Yeah, I even though we were kind of all over the place and you were skimming through the book, the physical book anyway, I did have a really fun time thinking based on memory on the book. But my personal opinion, Hannah, a future book that I think would be fun to cover would be a book from the Clone Wars series, like Yoda Dark Rendezvous.
I've heard that that's pretty good.
It is very good. And I know you are a huge Dooku simp, and I
Yes,
think you
I
would love
am.
that so much.
Now I need to find it because I need the physical copy.
Don't worry, it's also on Audible. I got
I
it
know,
myself.
but I like having the physical copy.
But yes, for the audience, let us know what book series or singular book of Star Wars you want us to cover, because there is a lot out there.
There is a shit ton.
Yeah. I think Courtship of Princess Leia is a good start because it's a singular book. It's not like the new Jedi Order series.
Or the Thrawn series.
That is
like
also
it's
true.
it's a good standalone book to get a foothold in.
Yeah, and it provided a lot of world building for Dathomir in general.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you everybody for listening to us for
2 hours.
2 hours. I might have to cut this down a little bit, but well, this is a little bit rough, but probably the longest video I've recorded, minus the Star Wars alternate stuff. But let us know what you guys think about this, and hopefully we could streamline the process a little bit. But yeah, give us your feedback. Always love hearing your suggestions. And you got any closing statements, Hannah?
Highly suggest this book. I will be willing to talk about it with anyone else who is interested. You can talk to me about it on the Discord. Also, send me ass on my blog, please.
Yeah.
And may the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you. Bye-bye.
Bye.